Hey everyone and welcome back. Today we've got a fun video because Activision Blizzard are pretty damn good at the whole doing a business thing and, extracting more from what they've got. It's a very interesting situation that not only will greatly inflate World of Warcraft subscriber figures, it also has interesting implications for Hearthstone and has had people joking about Hearthstone Shadow Legends. So I think it's time to get into this story, and I'm going to give you the basics, right? So, if you're not aware, World of Warcraft does a 6-month subscription bonus. Now, that's pretty obvious why they would want it, right? Because when a new patch comes out, they want you to get excited, see there's a 6-month sub bonus, commit to a 6-month sub, and then even if you only play that patch for 2 months, which is about as much as it kind of is in the modern patches, well, kind of tough shit, you've already bought the 6. Now, this was only a World of Warcraft thing. However, now they're extending it to Hearthstone. And they're extending it in a very interesting way that basically means that just about every single Hearthstone player who is a regular player is probably going to want to buy it. And that could inflate WoW sub numbers quite a bit. So, once you've purchased your subscription, you will receive 15 card packs to United in Stormwind, a Tavern Pass, and Battleground perks. You'll receive an additional 15 Mercenaries card packs with the release of Mercenaries on October 12th. As an additional bonus, you'll also receive 15 card packs from a future Hearthstone expansion, along with 15 Mercenary card packs, Tavern Pass, and Battleground perks at a future date. Over in Hearthstone, accomplishing a simple bounty will award a new World of Warcraft mount, Sarge. So, that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot, and when you do the breakdown, that's when it gets interesting, right? So, think about Blizzard. As Matt points out here, among many problems, Blizzard currently suffer from the lowest MAUs they've had in 5 years. That's because of not as many content releases, the likes of World of Warcraft having a drop-off in players because of the, not particularly great direction of the game and the worsening quality of some of the game's content. Now, this is an issue from Blizzard. They're going to need to get those numbers up fast, but fixing WoW and releasing new games is going to take a while. So this creates a very powerful incentive for WoW players to play Hearthstone and Hearthstone players to subscribe to World of Warcraft. And remember, if a WoW person only plays World of Warcraft, they're 1 MAU. If they play World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, they are 2 MAUs. Same goes in the other direction for a Hearthstone player. And that is really quite big. So, in essence, they're using a big value play to boost their monthly active users. And what you worked out, Matt, that was really genius, is that if WoW players log in when this news was announced at the end of August, then in September to get their card packs, and then in October for Sarge and the Mercenaries packs, that is 1 extra MAU across those 3 months. But then there'll be card packs for a new Hearthstone expansion, right? So there'll be an incentive to perhaps log in December. So theoretically, this is quite a large boost in MAUs by incentivizing users to play the other Blizzard games by the freebies. Now, here's where it gets big for the Hearthstone players, because the amount of value included here is kind of absurd. So for £52.14, the price of a 6-month World of Warcraft subscription, you get 2 expansions worth of Tavern Pass and Battleground perks, which normally goes for £51.96. So you're already ahead on that. You get 30 packs, that's $33.98 in value. You get 30 Mercenary packs, and if we're to assume that's £33.98, as Mercenary packs cost 100 gold like card packs do, then that is around £120 worth of Hearthstone purchases alone included in this World of Warcraft subscription. Now, that of course also includes 6 months of World of Warcraft, a store mount which is for us valued at £19, and some toys to use in WoW Classic. So if you buy the sub for the Hearthstone rewards, you can also play World of Warcraft, which again turns 1 Hearthstone MAU into 2, or possibly 3 if Classic is another MAU, but based on how they run those, I don't think a Classic player counts as another MAU. Now, at the same time as all of this, Classic is releasing TBC Phase 2, unlocking new content, and Shadowlands is gearing up to do patch 9.1.5, which basically is a bit of a, we're sorry, we're going to listen to you this time, honest, patch that players have kind of been wanting for quite a while. So basically, there's a very large push for engagement, and this is just a lot of value being flung around the Blizzard ecosystem. Basically, the whole thing is a stroke of genius to get a whole bunch of their numbers up, lock in some sales. We just, we looked at the value proposition there for a Hearthstone player. Like, if you are going to engage in Mercenaries, play Standard, and maybe do the odd Battleground, like, you are going to buy this. So every single regular dedicated Hearthstone player who is the sort of player who would make a purchase is going to be engaged with this. And of course, as a lot of research shows, the people who are most likely to spend money are those who have already spent some money. So you get people in via a pretty damn big deal, and then they're a little bit more in that ecosystem, They won't want to lose their Battleground perks or their Tavern passes once they're used to them. So it's really all quite smart. By the way, also, they do have a 30% sale on the WoW Shadowlands expansion right now. That is actually following sales they did, as you point out, in March, May, and July. So they are really trying to get copies of Shadowlands out, and a whole bunch of other stuff in BNet is also on sale. So that's basically what's going on. Is this a good thing?
Yes, it is a good thing, right? Because it's Blizzard just throwing stuff at you for free. Or not for free, but, added, insane value compared to what the usual price is. Because even, because that's around 120 quid of value for Hearthstone players. Because of how the Tavern Pass and Battleground perks are set up, and how it's, split, the rest of the value split between the 30-something quid of Standard and the 30-something quid of Mercenaries, now it looks attractive enough because you're already making your money on Tavern Pass and Standard packs. If you're going to be playing Hearthstone Standard, this expansion and the next, then you throw in Mercenaries as well. So it's the kind of thing where even if you aren't interested in Standard, but you think you're interested in Mercenaries, then here it's a great setup. Especially if you think the expiry date is October 19th for this deal, which is 1 week after Mercenaries comes out. So people who are enthralled with the first gameplay of Mercenaries can go, oh shit, I can get 30 packs today and also play more Standard. So it's it is an extreme amount of value, and it looks like, it's completely transparent. Because it feels like how they're doing with World of Warcraft, which is, sorry, here's everything you want. They don't have quite the equivalent available in Hearthstone content-wise, so they're doing it value-wise. At the same time, they're setting up for a future, Blizzard-wide collaboration payment, because this is a precedent been set.
Yeah, and Diablo is actually in Mercenaries too.
Yes.
Being a bit more cross-franchise.
Yeah, so if you're a Diablo player who's like, oh yeah, I'm grabbing, what's it, 23rd, I think, of September, or 22nd of September, that the Resurrected is coming out. So you're back onto the Battle.net launcher, maybe you played a bit of Hearthstone in the past, you're like, oh yeah, Diablo, let's go. Oh, I can get Diablo for Hearthstone.
The Diablo
That's
bundle.
really interesting. I can get that Diablo bundle for 45 quid or $50 or €50. Sweet, let's do that.
Hearthstone is monstrously expensive.
It really...
I compare some of these prices, 40 packs or a AAA game in PC. We'll talk about this later, but Hearthstone pricing is... I know it works because you double down on the whales, and Hearthstone is basically gacha. Yeah. Of course, it's a CCG, not a TCG, which is really what makes the difference versus something like Magic. But it's insane. Before we get into that, though, I really like what you've called up in just the sheer quantity of just core monetization principles that are being applied here.
Yeah.
Now, one important thing to say as a preface, there's nothing wrong with a company bundling their products and offering a customer a deal. This is not like whenever people get, I think, pissed over a store mount in World of Warcraft, because that is an in-game, something that people think should be an in-game obtainable item in a paid subscription MMO. Of course, this is just, hey, you're getting some extra perks for your sub. A business should be able to do a bundle, right? I'm not going to get all up in arms that a business is doing a bundle. It's just in the overall context, it's a fascinating situation. Now, to what you say here. So, yeah, right. Hearthstone people get a attractive value. Once you've bought one thing, you're more likely to buy more. So in terms of monetization principles, not only is it a hook, it's also an icebreaker. But because it's a 6-month sub for World of Warcraft and the Hearthstone value is given to you in September, October, and December, it could also build a strong habit because of the release cadence of the various different Hearthstone packs, the tavern passes and all of that. Now, this is also only available for a limited time, so there's also a bit of scarcity. And, that's basically it. They're just doing a lot of things. Real smart. Can't knock them. Like, they probably have well-paid monetization designers who have worked this shit out real good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with it, because it is, like, literally from a business perspective, you go, well, that's fine. That's good. This is, literally offering value to Hearthstone players. But if you come at it from the more cynical angle, you kind of, you dispel, you can see their motives behind it, which are kind of helping players, obviously. Yeah. But at the same time, you go, oh, I see you've ran down the presentation of Let's Go Willing by your man, Jernstrom, whatever his name was. I can't remember his name now. But that, a highly controversial thing of how to monetize people. You've basically ran down that and ticked all the boxes, which, is their right as a company to do, and there's nothing necessarily wrong. It's just, it feels cynical when their games are not at their best. So it's a thing where, if a game is doing really, really well, and you're like, you know what, we'll give players extra value because we want to be nice. That's what players will be like, oh yeah, thanks, is great. But in this case, the Hearthstone community is up in arms over a number of things, including the new announcements.
Yeah.
The World of Warcraft the World of Warcraft community is up in arms about a couple of things as well. And then I meant to source it for this, but there's an image going around of the current status of all of Blizzard's properties, and all of them can be, considered negative in terms of where they are, in terms of actual available games, because Overwatch hasn't shown up.
Yeah.
Diablo 4 is long on the horizon still, stuff like that. So it feels like instead of releasing better games, which they can't do immediately, to be fair to them, this is like what they can do immediately. But it's like this feels, from the cynical perspective, a marketing ploy designed to bump up all of their engagement numbers so shareholders are happy without actually making any fundamental change.
It feels like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of this was reflected in the next quarter. It also reminds me, of course, of the annual pass to World of Warcraft that came bundled. It was in and around, you do the annual pass, you got Diablo 3 included within that, and it was Tyrael's Charger as an in-game mount. So that's an interesting thing they did in the past. Maybe we might see them do a subscription bundle in the future. I think a lot of people, because Blizzard have tried to make a Blizzard community and a Blizzard fandom, really dialing in the company as the sort of center of that. Now, that's obviously a bit short right now, but you could see them try to do something like that, like the overall Blizzard Pass. Now, I mentioned monetization designers earlier. What happens when the monetization designers and the game designers feel like they're getting a little bit in bed with each other? Well, some people would say Hearthstone Mercenaries mode. Now, it's a roguelike party builder based around Warcraft heroes that also, for some reason, has got Diablo in it. Fundamentally, that sounds like a good, fun thing. We've all seen lots of great games in and around that genre. I mean, you look at the sort of side modes and things that they do in Hearthstone, they're generally great. I was playing some of Book of Mercenaries last night, and it was great. It actually felt more Warcraft than World of Warcraft right now. So there's ways where Hearthstone's actually making me, as a WoW fan, more happy about Warcraft and Azeroth than World of Warcraft is, which is a pretty sad state of affairs. But the thing with this new mode is the monetization. And this is what has got the Raid Shadow Legends comparisons going, where it feels like this is a card game that's got a gacha game included with PvE and PvP modes. Here's a good tweet. People calling Hearthstone Mercenaries pay the Spire. Right? Stuff like, for Slay the Spire, of course. Stuff like that's quite funny. So here's what happened. Blizzard showcased the new mode. And the new mode, it was basically too dense, their showcase, for people to understand the gameplay. Like, it was not an ideal way to explain things. And for a lot of people, they're already a bit up in arms of just how expensive Hearthstone is. Now, you can have a decent experience as a free player, but certainly if you want to push rank and stuff like that, you're going to want those meta decks. those meta decks in Standard are always going to be, card packs within the most recent 2 years because they retire card packs. Just that unlike, say, Magic the Gathering, they don't support previous, they just throw it all into Wild. They don't do it as well as the likes of Magic do. And that stuff's not been great for Hearthstone player sentiment. And now, there's just another whole game within Hearthstone with its own set of card packs that you can buy. So Mercenaries really, to a lot of people, just feels like another way for them to monetize the game. And when the initial offering from Blizzard is $140 of pre-purchase bundles, I think it's a story that tells itself. So here's just a little bit of a call out from you and the money. Overall, it seems very grind heavy from the early previews. The village you upgrade requires gold, which is basically a soft currency that you grind instead of paying money, but that gives the free-to-play players a decision. Do they spend their Hearthstone gold on the Mercenary Village, or Mercenary packs, or Hearthstone standard packs to play the main game? So clearly there is an intent to split Hearthstone into regular and Mercenaries, but is this the right decision, and is this really something that feels a lot more rough for the free-to-play players? I kind of think it does. As you say, even whales have their limits. And your existing card collections have got no bearing on the new mode. And for many lapsed Hearthstone people like me who have loads of card packs that are now just thrown into Wild, it doesn't feel like my investment in that game is really something that's been an investment. So it's good for new players that you can hop into Mercenaries and you don't need a massive library of cards, but it does feel a bit of a sting for the long-term players who've actually stuck with the game and invested a bunch of time and money. And then also, people have got outstanding issues with some aspects of Hearthstone gameplay. They maybe see the devs focus a bit more on Mercenaries. And actually, when you open the menu for Hearthstone, you see Hearthstone be a menu option of Hearthstone, right? And Connell can edit it in here, right? And it does look a bit silly, and people have been laughing at that. And really, for a lot of people, they're just concerned that the game seems to be bouncing around a bunch of different game modes, trying to recapture some lost glory, trying to get that monetization potential going, rather than making Hearthstone the best it could be. And players are feeling just a bit left to assume that Mercenaries is Blizzard trying to chase the next big thing, because it does have very gacha game-like monetization potential. Now that said, there are 52 Mercenaries, 8 are given away for free, and the first 16 packs contain all rares, 3 epics and 1 legendary. 37% of Mercenaries are in 5% of the packs.
Yeah, so that means the first 5% of packs you buy, like if you want to collect all of them, you'll need to buy this 100% of packs. Mm-hmm. In the first 5% of those you buy, you'll get 37% of the Mercenaries, which means you'll get the vast majority of them, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It'll only be the heavy monetization comes when people want all of the trailing legendaries, because then you'll have to deal with, some dupes, even though there is duplication protection across most of Hearthstone now. So they are trying to be fair systemically. It's not like complete bullshit. It's just that their game design, kind of relies on it.
Yeah.
By literally, it's almost the thing where their core design has tons of monetization, and then they mitigate that instead of designing away from monetization and then introducing it later, which is one of the things people actually talk about when it comes to Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
And how Battlegrounds was introduced fairly recently, and now they've went and made this entirely new mode, which is, from the creative standpoint, you're like, that's, great. This is excellent that our game's having extra modes and extra things to play.
Yeah, if Hearthstone didn't seem to cost multiple AAA games,
yeah,
or depending on your level of engagement, of course. Per year, then I look at this, I'm like, well, I do think Hearthstone's a pretty fun card game. I played a little bit of Battlegrounds. It seems quite neat. Arena I enjoy, but it seems to be the community seems to regard it as a little bit of a dead mode. And the solo adventures are great. Yep. They're so great, and there's so many of them, and loads of them have got different they actually make a great game with Hearthstone. And there's times where it feels like Hearthstone respects and does justice to the lore of World of Warcraft more than World of Warcraft does. And that's all pretty cool to me. It's just some of these issues. And yeah, so for actually even just the launch experience, I opened up for the first time in ages on my phone. I got pop-ups for each of the bundles, because there's a Diablo bundle, there's another Warcraft bundle.
Sylvanas and the Lich King.
Yeah, Sylvanas and the Lich King. Sylvanas is a bit cheaper than the other two, but it instantly threw over £100 of monetization at me.
Yeah, that would have been about 116 quid.
Yeah, it instantly threw that at me. And then I looked at the store and I saw just so much. And the cosmetics seem like a pretty bad value, these like sets that they have for Battlegrounds. And that's where that discussion comes up of, it seems like with Battlegrounds, they made a good fun game mode. And they're like, oh shit, how do we monetize this? Well, skins and stuff. So we sell them in the store. Whereas with Mercenaries, funny, the dictionary definition of mercenary, primarily concerned with making money at the expense of ethics. That's kind of funny. But with Mercenaries, they have very much put monetization into the core of the gameplay from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's the like
Shadow
that's one of the sentiments I saw on the like subreddit as I was going through researching this. It's that Battlegrounds was great, but monetization was kind of cosmetic heavy because they couldn't actually include monetization as part of the core design of the gameplay. So they had to fire a load of cosmetics in, which are I believe they're like substantially more expensive than you'd expect of cosmetics in a lot of other games.
Yes, I think it was like $12.99 or something for a bunch of images.
Yeah, I mean that's like
seemed pretty rough
compared to where like what I think it was for at least a long time the gold standard of cosmetics being League of Legends, where it's like they really did go above and beyond to try and sell you this stuff. But it's like Battlegrounds monetization was tacked on, which means something tacked on isn't going to be as effective. But then you look at the Raid Shadow Legends model, the idea of you pay for core gameplay characters, almost the same as it's not quite as gacha in terms of the sense of rolling and how that is with like the likes of Genshin Impact or your more traditional Eastern gacha games. It's not quite there, but the same weight of this is core gameplay locked behind monetization. It exists, and now that's core to the design, so you suspect that the monetization will be substantially more effective, which means from a business perspective, what incentive do they have to continue focusing on like Battlegrounds?
Yeah, exactly, because you had a bunch of new heroes and now people are going to buy some more card packs. That's how it is. And I think for me it's just, that feeling when you open up a game and maybe it's like a free-to-play game or something, and there's some of them like it feels good when you open the game up, you go in, you play some games, maybe you check out the store, but then you do some other ones and it's just like money pop up, there's the store icon, oh there's a little exclamation mark on it, oh I click in that and bam 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 bam, and you just feel so overwhelmed, and you look, you just like look at your screen, if it's a phone or something, and like, oh wow, so much of my screen is taken up by money right now. When I don't know, it left me in this weird position where I'm like, well, I actually really quite like this game, and this gameplay is really fun, but it just feels like it's pushed a bit too far, and this feels scummy to me.
I think that's the vibe that most of the community are getting at the minute, especially because a lot of standard players currently have like massive problems that they would love to see solved, and they're not even difficult problems to solve. Like technically speaking, they're like balance issues, and they're like, well, why are you not fixing balance issues quickly enough, but you're spending all this time on this other thing that is very like transparently, probably greenlit and allowed to focus on resource-wise because it has monetization potential. Yeah. I mean, like that's not to say, the actual developers making these modes are sitting thinking, how do we nickel and dime players? It's not going to be that way. It's going to be the case of, they'll be making something good. Mercenary seems good by all, not that anyone's played it yet because it's not out yet, but everything the Hearthstone devs do seems to be at least reasonably good.
Yeah, I think they're pretty damn good designers. They make fun stuff. They do their narratives surprisingly well for a card game. It's fun. Yeah,
but in the case of the solo adventures where they were individually monetizable, and you buy a pile of them for like $15.99 or $17.99, whatever it was, then you've got a limited amount of fun. It's additive. You go back to playing Hearthstone standard. Maybe you're kind of miffed because you still have to buy standard packs to play that. So you're maybe a little bit double monetized there, but it's still you pay for content. Whereas Mercenaries is now, Hearthstone is as unlike ever before. It has now been split ostensibly down the middle, where on one side you've got all of the game systems pointing you towards standard packs, all of your monetization pointing there, but now you have to decide which lane to go down, which is a lot to You know, it's a lot to ask of players when you're doing it from this standpoint of unless you go and watch a content creator break it down in a different way, or like IGN actually had an incredible video, which, you know,
I enjoyed IGN's video a lot. It really helped.
It was a bit of a surprise coming from, you know, IGN. No knock to any of the specific people working there, but it doesn't have the best reputation for a couple of things. But they had this like summary video that was very, very good at explaining how it actually played.
Yeah.
But for people who didn't see that, for people who saw the like an hour and a half long gameplay showcase that didn't really explain the gameplay that well, and then they immediately log into Hearthstone, is going, buy our new bundles, buy all our new packs, buy this 6-month subscription to get loads of value that includes Mercenaries packs that you're not sure if you want yet, but we've told you you've wanted and haven't quite explained why. It just feels like that there's a massive schism ready to go, and it's like ultimately a culmination of minor things, because the Hearthstone subreddit's full of people complaining about Seedlock, which is this nigh uncounterable Warlock deck that you know, specifically built around, you know, a core combo that you know, usually you'd have like win conditions in a Hearthstone game be if it's like quest based it takes a long time, or if it's like spell based it requires drawing correctly, and it's, you know, a couple of things, but you can get like wrecked in the meantime.
Yeah.
It has the combination of having an almost unstoppable win condition, but also extreme amounts of value the whole way up. And then their fix was, how do I put this? I don't know. Imagine there's a house about to fall down, and your fix is to come over and give it like one little brush of paint. That's effectively what they did. There was I think it's either an 8/8 or a 10/10 card that gets cheaper when you take damage on your own turn, which is the whole point of the Warlock questline. They changed it from 9 mana to 10 mana, which is ultimately no effect because of how that actual thing's played. So the community are furious about balance problems, and then they're going, here's a new mode to distract you. Also, give us loads of money. Thank you. Goodbye.
So I think a lot of this is a lesson in how far can you push it? How far should you push it? And, I mean, frankly, try not to make things that have connections to Raid Shadow Legends. It's just the sort of thing where there's a way where they could have done this, where it's a gameplay mode where the collection comes from just playing the mode and grinding it out and having some fun. But it obviously, because of this game, and it's a free-to-play game, it has to have the monetization element, and people just don't feel good about it. And certainly, when I logged in, I felt bombarded with things asking me for money, and it made the game feel cheap, even though it is anything but, because the stuff in that game is shockingly expensive.
Yeah.
And that's basically that. Now, that said, will I play like some of these solo adventures, like the Book of Heroes and the Book of Mercenaries? Totally, because they seem really fun. And so I will do that. But man, yeah, the rest feeling iffy about, to be honest.
Yep, just that a thing that keeps happening in AAA, keeps happening in different parts of gaming, where you're like, you're so close, you're doing so many things so well, and you're like, you know, at the last step, it's almost like, it's kind of like putting, you know, you're making some sweets, and instead of sugar you use salt. That's kind of what it feels like. 90%, 95, 99% of what they're doing is really good. But then the community's outraged because they're just small little things that aren't getting the right attention versus heavy monetization. So it's sad to see.
And
personally,
for an example here, I've got up the Hearthstone Mercenaries gameplay showcase stream. 2.2k likes, 2.1k dislikes. So that is very much not what we want for releasing a new feature. I think we can all know that. So I think this is a decent place to land it on. We talked a little bit about how the Hearthstone community don't seem to be particularly enthralled by what's going on. And I guess our perspective as WoW players, which, or WoW people, I mean, we basically just raid log, and that's if raid night doesn't get cancelled. You know, for people who do have an active WoW sub because of, you know, work and enjoying raiding. So it does impact us, and then also, of course, the impact on the MAUs, and how you can see that this is a very smart business decision, and perhaps if this goes well and those MAUs go up in a world where they haven't really had much in the way of other major releases other than D2 Resurrected, then maybe you can see them doing more things like this. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe there will be a pan Blizzard subscription. that, you know, you have that subscription. Maybe it's a premium subscription, like, you know, the way Apple have got a catch-all subscription for all of their sub-subscriptions. You know, maybe it is this premium price sub. It gives you some Overwatch boxes. It gives you some Hearthstone cards. Gives you some Diablo. You could see him do it. Yeah. So, on that note, watch out.
Actually, bringing up Apple's a very, very good one. Because the core thing to take away from this, at least as far as community perceptions are concerned, and kind of the whole story, including the 6-month sub, and including this Mercenaries mode being monetized, Apple's a good comparison because of what the clip that people keep throwing around of Steve Jobs talking about when marketing people and salespeople start to run the company instead of product-driven people. And that's what it feels like. That's the ultimate fear that comes out of this is, how are you solving the problem of people not playing your game? You're solving it with marketing strategies. You're solving it with sales strategies. You're not solving it with product strategies. And they very well might be planning those, but until we see them, all we see is this transparent moving and shaking of, you know, well-documented sales tactics.
Yeah. Which is sad, because when I look at the gameplay of Mercenaries, it actually looks, I think, really cool. And I would love to play it. I guess I get some shit free because I play WoW anyway, so maybe I will. But I really don't think I'm going to be buying a bunch of extra packs or doing things like that. Yep. Because that icebreaker and that hook ain't going to work on me. Okay, that's it for this. Let's all just stay tuned to whatever's going on with Blizz, and we will see you next time.